All right, I guess we're ready to get going. So hello, this is Marcy McCoy-Roth, and I'm the project director for the NEICE project. And very happy to welcome you here to this caseworker Q&A session on the NEICE 2.0. We're very excited about NEICE 2.0. It's been a long time coming, and there's lots of changes and additions to the new system that we're excited to share with you. At the same time, it's still the same process supporting the ICPC that you've been experiencing if you've been using NEICE 1.0. So it's both new and the same at the same time. So we're very glad to have you here. I'm joining you from APHSA, and I have a couple colleagues on the line from APHSA with me. Max Daniel, who's our data analytics manager, and also Bertha Levin is on the line. So I think we also have our fearless partners and training leads from the Tetris team, Tom Lavodi and Swati and Kavya. And I think, Tom, if you're there and able to get off mute, then I can just turn things over to you.
I'm off mute and I want to double check. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's been so quiet, Tom. I wasn't sure you were online. It's good to hear you.
I was saying my pre-webinar prayer so that I could come out the same strength I went in, because what happens is after talking for 2 hours, I tend to say, oh, I'm just whispering in their ears, but I'm going to keep up the strength of my speech for the duration of this webinar. And I'm excited to be here on a Monday morning, so close to the go live date, we can almost touch it. My name is Tom Lavodi. Spoken to many of you, some of you even as recently as today. Won't name anybody, but I've been with the program with Marcy since the beginning. I've been on the Tetris team and NEICE team for over 7 years now, and I'm very proud of what we've accomplished together, because it's really all about one letter of the alphabet. The letter is you, because you're out there working with NEICE every day, and we support you in any way we can. But you're the real human interface of NEICE with the clients, the children, the families, the judges, the courts, and everybody else. So we're excited to have been working with you almost 8 years, and we're going to continue on the brand new version starting July 6th for most everybody. But I'm Tom Lavodi. I'm the program manager for NEICE within Tetris, and I have 2 technical folks on the call today. We have Swati and Kavya. They are deep in the process of figuring out how to make this a smooth transition with us from 1.0 to 2.0. They've been answering support desk questions for years now, and they're well vested in both 1.0 and 2.0 because they're working on both ends. So they're really excited to be bringing this new innovative, upgraded and enhanced. As Marcy said, there's some changes, some improvements, and a lot of requests made by users like yourselves that we've incorporated. And what we're going to do together today, and this is together because I want you to make sure that you feel free to ask a question at any time. We'll stop and address that question. Either you can come off mute for a second and say, Tom, I have a question, because we don't want questions to linger. We want them to be answered. We want to answer them for you as soon as we can. You can also put in a question in the chat or put it in the Q&A. So we'll accept any questions in any format. There's no bad questions, dumb questions.
Hey, Tom, though, if I could, I would encourage you to use the Q&A function, because that way we can make sure that everyone can see it, because sometimes the chat questions just come to a few. So
okay, that's so you want the Q&A function?
Yes, if they could use that, but like you said, we'll get back to you whichever way you do it. But if you could try to use the Q&A, that would probably make it a little easier.
Okay.
So,
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so what's on today's agenda? We sincerely welcome all of you participants, because we know it's a Monday, it's another day, it's another week, and there's always so much to do on every day, especially Mondays and Fridays. Thank you for your time today. What we're going to do is, if you have a question now, before we begin giving you new information, we'd like to address those questions, get them out of the way, make our path a little smoother going forward. We'll review what's new in 2. 2.0 reflects issues and that we've fixed, requests that you've made that we've incorporated, enhancements, and some changes mandated by the AAICPC Executive Committee. For example, some changes in privacy security, and in processing a few case fields. So we'll do that. What's new? But there's a lot that we've retained because we didn't change the process for you. We just changed the tool. We're also going to do a demonstration of the case creation wizard, which is a brand new process. It's a brand new visual process, but it's the same identical ICPC process. So we'll show you how to make that work for yourselves by demonstrating how to create a case. What the wizards do is they allow you to create a case. Specifically for caseworkers, there's the sending case creation wizard. But everything outside of the wizard is really what we call case management. And you know that what you've been doing for the years you've invested in these is case management normally. So that's not anything new. It's just a different interface to do it with. Again, we want to make sure we answer all your questions, whether your question is based on your experience using NEICE 1.0, your completion, in which we urge you to, as soon as possible, if you haven't already done it, please complete e-learning, the 3 modules, the overview module, that's 15 minutes, the security module is 10 minutes, and the 35-minute module devoted to caseworkers. So we urge you to finish that as soon as possible. Once you finish with that, or while you're doing that even, you can look at the job aids and mini guides and tools and where to get started, because inside of NEICE, we have the support desk. Now there's support email and support desk. Email is when you have an issue in production. So the support desk is where you can find the knowledge base. The knowledge base will show you all these guides and things that'll help you through processes that you may not be familiar with or you need a refresher of. So then we hope you're familiar with those and know where to access them and are accessing them. Now, the 3 of you, Virginia, Maryland, and DC, are still CMS states. So you should be practicing, and I urge you to practice. This is very simple. You can make a case in 5 minutes if you practice, practice, practice. You can start with your standard, basic best practice, which is to gather your information, all your numbers, all your dates, all your names, placement resource, child names, and build a case in, I would say 10 minutes, because you've already scanned all your documents and you're just going to upload them to the case and finish the case with a message. So that's what the new wizard allows you to do. Go straight through the case in one sitting, compile the 100A and the message that goes to the central office. But the best way for you to become familiar with that is to use it in the test environment, and that's https://test.nice.us. And you're all CMS states, so you should all have access, and you should have access using your regular test email address, and the passwords were originally reset to welcome@123 with a capital W. So you should be able to get in. If you can't get in, try resetting your password. Okay, that's the agenda. I could have built a case in the time it took me to explain the agenda, but let's go on to the next screen and see what we have. One of the things we're going to emphasize today, and I'll say this probably 10 times before the hour and a half is over, is that the same functions you did and are doing in 1.0 are included in NEICE 2.0. We didn't take anything away. You're still going to be doing the same activities. It's just another tool, a modern tool. Specifically, you all caseworkers will be create sending state cases in NEICE. You'll be able to process incoming and outgoing cases as a representative of your local agency in a NEICE state. You'll perform what we call case management. Now, as I mentioned before, case management is simply things you're doing to process a case outside of the case itself. Look for the case, save the case, make some changes, add a child to the case, add a document to the case, etc. That's performing case management. Another thing that we think is good for everybody is to try to get a team approach at the local agency level. It's not that everybody can be the sharpest knife in the drawer. drawer in the kitchen, but in the local agency, you have so much talent and so much knowledge about needs that you can support one another. And then but also you have a good support team at the central office who have a lot of experience with cases, and because they see cases from all the counties, et cetera, and all the incorporated cities as well in Virginia, for example. So they've got a lot of experience with variations in case processing. So you can count on your peers and your teammates at the central office, as well as our team here at the support group. And there's so many more materials now available. There's probably the e-learning is essential. You can take it once, you can take it again, you can go to it and take just a part of it if you have a question about a part of it. So we urge you to go and consult that. If you haven't finished it already, you really need to finish it before you get started from the 6th of July. And again, there's the address to get to the knowledge base, and we can share that with you, so you'll be able to access all the job aids and tools in the knowledge base. Next slide, please, Swati. What I want to point out again is that there's both new things and the same thing. One thing I want to assure you is the life cycle of an ICPC case has not changed. There's a few details that have been added, a few fields that have been relocated, but you'll see them and they'll be evident because the case creation wizard will take you through in a logical, intuitive manner. It'll take you through the process of creating the case from start to finish, pretty much nonstop. We'll only be stopping for questions. So we'll be doing that, but it's the same process. If your state or DC involves caseworkers, there's a caseworker involvement. If not, all the NEICE work is done at the central office, like in some states that don't involve their locals. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. What's really new and two? The first thing that you'll see that will demonstrate, and you'll be amazed, is the case creation wizard. It actually allows you to follow your best practice about gathering information, knowing what your case is all about before you begin, building the case around the primary child, adding children, adding documents, adding the 100A, and if necessary, the 100B. So you can do it all in one sitting without stopping. And if you need to stop, there are logical places to leave the process. And then you'd come back and use the other tools to finish the case. But I will demonstrate for you how to create a case as a caseworker from beginning to end without leaving the wizard. There's a couple of changes on the 100A, but we've made, for example, we've made the planning mandatory, but we've made a tool that will help you enter that data. And it's a lot of data to enter, so this will be very helpful. There's been a recognition that some states need to identify private cases versus public cases. And some cases, some states don't enter private cases, either Reg 4 private placements or Reg 12 private adoptions into NEICE. So we will talk about that and who can have access to private cases. We've enhanced the alerts and notifications. We've given you a chart of notifications, not just simply a chart, but a flexible tool for notifications. And we've created a new role. And this is optional. U3 units, U3 members can choose to use it or not use it. But it's a new role at the caseworker level that allows the caseworker with this responsibility to assign a caseworker to case. For example, let's say somebody's working on a case and they're not able to come to work for a week starting Monday. So what we could do is we could go to her caseload using case search by the name of that user, and assign her cases to other people who are available to work them. She might have a Reg 7 case in the works, and you want to keep that within the deadline, so you can assign that case to somebody who's got hands-on and can pinch hit for that user. So that's another thing, and we'll show you how that works. But again, that's an optional function based on your state's preference. So we've got that new role. Next slide, please, Swati. Okay, what's new and what's not new? We have a new way to log in. It's simply a new front end, and then you can do the same things exactly the same. We have a profile, which is basically the same profile in the same place with a little bit more information. So we'll show you that. Instead of giving you that case list that didn't have the closed cases and wasn't that easy to use, we've come up with a new tool called My Cases. Now that means my Tom Lavoti cases. So if I want to see just my cases, I can go to My Cases and manipulate, search, and sort and filter my cases. So that's a new handy tool. What we also did is for people in an agency, we've created case search. That gives you access to every case in the agency. So that's why you can look for a case by person, by the child, by the case ID, etc., and find the cases in your unit so you can all share in supporting those cases. Again, that tool of adding a user to a case is the case assignment coordinator role of either the state ICPC headquarters level, which it would be one of the ICPC coordinators, or at the county level, which would be the county caseworker, who's also given the additional tasking of assigning user to a case. But it's all wrapped up in a shiny new package with more color, more usable space. Things are laid out more visible. The print isn't as small, and we hope that you'll become accustomed to it. That's why we're emphasizing taking the e-learning, familiarizing yourself with the documentation, and then practice, and then practice. And if I didn't mention it before, practice again, because it's very simple and quick to do a case, sending state case, which you're enabled to do in the tool using the wizard. You'll see how quickly I can do it. But I won't show you quickly enough because I want to make sure there's time for questions. Okay, next slide, please. What we're going to demonstrate for you today, you're going to see what I'm going to talk over, and Swati's going to do the mouse work to create a case using the ICPC case sending state wizard. We'll show you the dashboard and the profile, which is nice. And wait till you see how much information is on your dashboard. We'll process a case in your local agency just for practice. We'll show you my cases, the value of my cases. We'll show you case search, and we'll demonstrate how to assign a user to case. But again, it's all wrapped up in the user design that we hope will benefit you and help you expedite your cases. Okay. I'm looking for questions. Are there any questions at all so far, or any questions into the future? Any questions about what you've read? Okay, if that's the case, at this point, we'll let Swati make the transition from the PowerPoint slides to the actual demonstration screen. Swati, take it away for time you need to log in, to set up and show the people how to log in. This is the new login screen. You can see it's a lot different than the other screen we currently have. Teal as our motif. Eventually there'll be different motifs, but it's the same thing. Your username is the same. Your password should be the original password to log in if you haven't logged in since we switched you over to, if you had a login in 1.0, it was reverted back to welcome at 123 capital W. So again, you'd enter your password, and then you must sign the agreement every time you log in because security has become more important. Just Google the word cyber threat, and you'll see how important security becomes in the current industry. So this is your dashboard, and look at how much data is in this dashboard. You have access to two parts of the screen. The active part is the white part and the menu part is the green part. And let's look at the white part where the information and action is. You see how many active cases to date, total cases, which means active plus closed cases. And you have incoming compliance deadlines like the Safe and Timely Act. And we've added for 2.0, we've added the action on a 180-day limit on the action on an approved home study. So we've got both of those deadlines, compliance incoming and outgoing. And we've got a patch in your screen that shows you where your most recent notifications and alerts are in green. Green is for notifications and alerts are in red. If you look at the top of the screen, you'll see that you've got several items there. You've got the generic search tool, which we know it's the same search tool. Put a number, a name, anything that matches will come back in the search, generic search. If you have an alert, there'll be a number on the bell. Right now, we don't have any alerts. And if there was we'd see the most recent 5. If not, if there's 6, we'd have to click on more. Under notifications, we have 3. When we click on notifications, we can actually see a table with all the notifications. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to make a list of these notifications, you could check box all three notifications, and then just try this for a second. Swati, we're going to do is check all 3 notifications. We're going to go to the actions box. It's not an action column. And we're going to export it to CSV. What that does is it creates, without any impact on the status of the data, it actually creates a comma separated value file that we can use with Excel, or we could print it, or we could mark them all as red. But right now, let's just uncheck them. And I'll show you there's 3 places on the screen to access your notifications. This is a list of all the users in my unit. In case I get a phone call and say that Charlotte Erickson's not going to be at work anymore, and I need to check on her notifications immediately, I could go to that list of the notifications for list, click on Charlotte and see if there's any notifications there. I don't think there are any, since Charlotte has gone on to a bigger assignment in her agency. So if we click on Charlotte, let's see if she has any. Oh, she does have 1 case. It goes back to May 23rd. Okay. So we would actually be able to handle that case, that notification, and respond to it. So there's 3 places to get your notifications on your homepage. But how do we get back to the homepage from the notifications tab? You go up to the upper left-hand corner. Anytime you want to get back to your dashboard page, you click on that icon that says NEICE, and it takes you back to the dashboard. So that's the convenience for you, but there's 3 places to get to your notifications. The first one is up on the crossbar on the top line where it says 3. You can click on there. It's number 1. Number 2 is recent notifications. The alerts, if there are there, will come first, and then the notifications. And then in the menu, there is also the option to get the notifications. That'll take you to the notifications grid, which you can manipulate, you can export, you can filter, because you may have more than just 3 notifications. So this is good. You have 3 ways of accessing notifications from your dashboard. Now, let's just take a look. We've got the dashboard and we've got the work area. So we've got a menu and a work area. Now you see that we've got icons and labels for all the functions. Let's say we're 3 months into this and we know what all the labels mean. We can get more workspace on our screen by hiding the actual description that accompany the icons. So you see what says dashboard in this picture of the dashboard? We're going to go to the little three stacks of pancakes on the top. the menu bar and shrink it up and have much more space to work with in the work area of our screen. So let's say we want to get back to our home page and look at look at our profile. Let's go to our home page again. I mean our dashboard. I beg your pardon. Let's go to our dashboard and we're back there again. Now, what was in the profile in 1.0? Let's go down and see what's there. First name, last name, email, user roles. Wait a second. It says user roles. It used to say user role because you had one role. Now we've arranged it so that you can have multiple roles. For example, this particular user is a county caseworker. That means he's a user in a county. He's also been given the tasking of assignment coordinator. That means within that county, he can assign users, other caseworkers, to cases, and you can check to see who's assigned to what case. So that's very important. So this person is a county caseworker as a primary function and has the ability to assign users to cases. Agency, state, phone number, signature. The signature works the same way, no change. So I'm trying to point out that some things have changed and some things have remained the same. There'll be a place on the at the end of this webinar to find out where you can watch the video or get a copy of the slides. So I think that was one question that came up.
And
Okay.
Tom, there's another question that came up. The question is, are the notifications similar to the transmittal memos?
Yes, you as a caseworker, you can receive 2 types of transmittals. One is a notification that you've received a message from your central office, and the other is when you've been CC'd. In this case, they would like say, please review this case, or I've added a document to this case, or this case is now urgent. But that would be a message from your central office. The other would be if your central office sent an interstate transmittal to the receiving state or the other state in the case and CC'd you on that transmittal. So that's what you would get as notifications. Okay? So you get the notifications of either an incoming case via a message or a copy of a CC of a transmittal to another state from your state. So you would get those notifications. So now we're back to our screen and we had the numerics across the top. We have the right-hand side starting at the top, it has the profile and it has the information about most recent notifications and alerts. And then in the middle, we have bar charts, which give you a visual representation of the current status of your cases. And review pending means it's still on the bottom of each column. It's still in our state, and they're reviewing it before sending it to the receiving state. Home study pending means that we've sent it to the other state and they're reviewing it. Approved is simply approved. Placed is what we know is placed. And these are, if you look at each column, you can see that the columns are broken down into color codes, which relate to the regulation types below the bars. And if you hover over the section of the bar, it'll give you the detailed number of cases within that different regulation and status. Oh, there's so much information here. I know people want to have information. Now, this particular set of information, when I logged in, is for my agency. This includes the cases in my agency. If we go towards the profile, underneath the profile, there's a statement that says, show my cases. What that actually is a toggle switch, because when you see your whole entire agency's cases, that toggle will say show my cases. When you click on show my cases just to see your cases, it'll say show all cases. So let's click on it once. And notice the numbers go down because I'm not the only caseworker in this office. So my numbers went down from 400 down to 48. And you can see the different distributions, the different compliance deadlines, and some notifications that I got that nobody else got. So that's why you have the option to see all cases or my cases. So that's a brand new thing. The whole desktop, the whole dashboard is brand new. Again, the same thing as we had in the old version 1.0, which is the return to this page, the search and alerts and the profile are pretty much all the same. The data, which people need, is all new and exciting, and the ability to find your notifications in 3 places is also important. So if there's no questions on the login or the dashboard and the dashboard data, we'll get to look at my cases and cases before we do the demonstration on the wizard. Okay, let's go to my cases first. You open up the menu. It just opens and closes it easy. So there you have all of the cases that are assigned to you that you're the responsible party for. You can see the listing across. It's a checkbox to highlight that case. Status window, and that 2 dashes with a triangle. Yellow means it's in status pending. So you just hover over it and you'll get the description of the icon. That's status pending. And the green one says active when you hover over active. So I've got a lot of pending cases. So this is the case status pending. Case status pending means the same thing it did in 1.0. That has not yet been made active by an ICPC coordinator in my state. So that would be state pending. The case with the green circle and the checkbox means it's been sent forward to the central office. It's been made active in my state, and since it was satisfactory and ready to go, it was sent to DC from Florida. No, it was sent from DC to Florida. I see. And there was a 39th case in 2001 because it only has an interstate compact ID if it's been through the clearinghouse, sent from another state or sent to another state. And you know how those numbers are identified. 2 random alphas, the sending state, the receiving state, the year it was created, and the sequence within the year it was created. So that shows me that it's been through the one time, at least one time through the clearinghouse. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, and you can, so again, if you scroll to the top, you'll see the filter and scroll capabilities, filtering and sort capabilities. You can separate outgoing from incoming. You can click on the icon that says show filters, and that will allow you to look at the filtering that you can do on each column. For example, if you wanted to see where the receiving state was DC, you'd go to the receiving state column and enter the 2 characters DC, and it'll change to DC only. Let's try that, Spotty. So I've got 4 cases that have come into me from DC. Okay. Some of them, oh, believe it or not, one of the surprises you'll find is when you're working in NEICE under https://nice.us, that you will find your old cases that you created during the test process of testing and practicing process for NEICE 1.0. So those cases are in there. So I've got some cases. For example, this case 1258 is from 2014. October 13th was created 2014. So that was when it was still very young, very young 1.0. Okay. Now let's look at case search just for a minute before we go on to the demonstration of the wizard. Case search has very few but very critical search capabilities. The first I want to point out is the assigned worker. We know that if we have the case ID, we could search on it, the interstate case ID, and then if we want to see all our closed cases, open cases, pending cases. But the really new critical, oh, and this is also important, when you look under case status, you can look under multiple statuses at the same sort. So that's what those multi-select boxes are. When you see a checkbox in a drop-down list, that means you can select more than one item. In this case, we're looking for an individual assigned worker, and Swati's going to pick me, and she's going to search on my cases, and there's going to be a lot of cases. And they're in reverse chronological order, which matches the reverse date of creation. And I can show up to 50 on a page at a time. But since I have over 200, that would be at least 4 pages, probably 5 total, since I have just a little bit over, I have 209 cases that are still in my case list. So I better get back to work. As soon as I'm finished talking with you all, I'm gonna get back on these cases. So that's my cases. Again, you can search on it, sort them, filter them, and access them right from here. So this is more than one way. There's so many ways to access a case. But when you do case search, it's everyone in your agency's cases. If it's my cases, it's your cases specifically. So just keep in mind, if you want to search your own, you go to my cases. If you want to search everybody, you can go to case search. Okay. Are there any questions at this point? In 2.0, the cases will change, the case status will change automatically, except for the point where when your case is pending in the sending state, it changes when the ICPC coordinator in the sending state changes the status of the case from pending to active. Then it becomes active in the sending state. When the sending state sends it to the receiving state, the case status arrives in the case status receiving. The receiving state ICPC coordinator needs to review that case, make sure it's complete and correct. And if she decides that it's complete and correct, she will make it active in the receiving state and process that case. If she includes in these the receiving state caseworker, she can send it to the caseworker via message. Let the caseworker do the home study and then gather all the information, complete the home study and send it back. But that's how the case status actually changes. It's based on some action by the designated user. For example, a caseworker cannot make a case active. A caseworker can send the case in the pending status to the ICPC coordinator who can make it active. Or if not complete and correct, she can send the case information back to the sending state caseworker for the additional information. For example, if you need a social security card copy and it's not included, you can wait, don't change it to active, but send a message back to the sending caseworker to include a copy of the social security card. So this is where we say it's actually behavior driven, where the ICPC coordinators have the authority to change it from pending to active in the sending state and from receiving to active in the receiving state. I hope that answers your question. And that's the way it'll work in 2.0 as well. Yes, if you used your standard email address for both test and in production, you would sign in with that same user ID in both test and practice in 2.0. So you don't need to invent anything. We're migrating the users over to the test database. The only people not included were people who were not included at this point and could be added by the state admin at any level at any time. After 2.0 goes live, they can be added to 2.0. And if you have a large group of new users, let us know and we can work with you on that. But if it's one-on-one, the state admin can enter that person and provide them with the appropriate set of tools by assigning them the appropriate set of roles. Okay, so that's the last. We're looking at cases. Now we're going to actually create a case using the case wizard. Now, where do we see the sending case wizard? Let me think. Let's look around the screen. And where do you think we would find that kind of action to perform? In the menu under actions? I think that's the right answer. It says sending case wizard. So let's give it one click. And since we know we're going to be in that case for a long time, maybe 15 minutes, let's just give us some more white workspace and close up the menu area just to the icon level so we can have more space to work and see more at the same time. I hope you can all see the screen because it's new and different. What we've done is we've added the wizard itself, but what we did was really we broke down the case creation process into 6 blocks. They're not new blocks, they're the same blocks. Remember when we had best practices in 1.0, we gathered our information, we learned what type of case it's going to be, we learned who the placement resource was, we learned who the children were, and we learned what state it's going to, and if we knew the county, et cetera, the details, we'd have that all addressed. We'd have all that information gathered. We'd have our copies of our documents scanned and be ready to go. So let's assume that we've scanned all our documents, we've gathered all our information, and we're going to progress straight through on these bullets on the top. Search, child details, case details, 100A, 100B, case documents, and messages. We don't get to send transmittals at the caseworker level, but we can send messages to our ICPC coordinators. And again, these are the same blocks that we use in 1.0, the same blocks you use if you were doing this on paper. So let's begin at the beginning. Let's search for the child, the primary child around whom we are going to build the case. So we're going to search on a child with the last name Young. We find that Johnny Young, but that may not be the Young we're looking for. So at the bottom of the screen, you see add new child and create a case. See, as long as you've got that where it says in the top left-hand corner, sending case wizard, you're still in the wizard. Okay, so now we've selected a child, we've done the search and selected a child named Young. But look what happened in the progress bar. There is a progress bar which shows the 6 stages of a case. We've completed the search, so the icon is replaced with a blank green or teal circle. It's replaced by a lighter green circle with a checkbox check in the space indicating we've completed that part of the process. So we always know where we are when we're in the wizard. Okay, any questions so far? Just like we did in the normal 1.0, we're entering all the child data, ensuring that we complete these fields with the red asterisk, which are mandatory. Now, here's a new thing. Most everything is exactly the same, but this is new. When you're discussing a child, we have 2 terms. One is called sex and the other is called gender. Sex is the child's sex noted at birth. That's it, sex noted at birth. Now, gender is a different story. It's the way the child either identifies his or herself, him or herself, or how that the family identifies that child. So there's multiple options. Again, these are both not required fields. Sex is more well known. It was a carryover from the original, but gender is new and applies only to the child in the case, not to the parents, not to the placement resources, not to anybody other than the child. Now, social security number, it's an optional field that allows you to enter the social security number. Some states do not want you to enter that. For example, New York has a policy of not entering it, but you still need a hard copy or a copy, photocopy of the child's birth certificate. But in New York, they prefer you don't enter the actual number in the data. Race, again, is the same. And remember, races, you can enter multiple races. You can pick any of the 4 or 5 races. They can have any number of races. Or if you cannot get the information from the family, you can check the box unable to determine or decline. But in most cases, you'll have one or more race for the child. Hispanic origin is optional, but sometimes very helpful, as some states prefer to know that information. Now, there's 2 mandatory fields, the Title IV eligibility and ICWA eligibility. So you cannot save this child's information unless you enter those 2 fields. And that's the same carryover from 1.0. Child aliases are very interesting. For example, in adoption, they may change the child's actual name. So you'd need to know the alias, the original name, and the new name. So you can either enter an alias first name, last name, or a combination of first and last name, but it's optional. Parent information is also optional, but it's helpful. And I'll tell you why parent information is important. It's part of the 100A. So if you put it in here now, you enter it in here now, you don't have to enter it again separately in the 100A. It'll be pre-filled, pre-populated for you based on the data you enter here. Okay, we're just filling in some data. And you can see we're really not even 10 minutes into the process and we're almost building the 100A. So it's really moving right along.
You will probably.
Is that a question? One of our junior members? Yeah, we love children. We're all about children.
I'm sorry, I don't have a question.
You have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I thought that or no, sorry about that.
It's all right, no problem.
To
Okay, so now we've entered the child data, we've entered the parent data. And if we wanted to enter a local ID for our state, we could enter in the child jurisdiction, but it also knows that I'm from Florida. The caseworkers from Florida, so it's already entered Florida and Broward County. So let's go scroll down to the bottom. Florida and Broward County, and I could put the ID if I needed to, if I felt like it, if I had it. Now it says save and continue the case details. Remember, you do the search for the child, you put the child details, and then you add the case details. As soon as we click that button, save and continue the case details, we get another checkbox. And now we're in the 3rd phase of a case creation called case details. So what we want to do is enter the receiving state. Notice they pre-populated my local agency and state. We can put in the receiving county since we know there's only one county in DC, which is an optional field, but this field is required. It's current legal status of child. That's the same as we had in 1.0. So we're going to pick one. Now here's something new. It's an optional field, but what this says is what type of case is this between a public case or a private case? And as we know, there's Reg 4, family placement, parent placement, that are private, and both types of independent and control adoptions are private. But we're going to make this a public case, which means that it can be viewed by anyone. If we made it a private case, you'd have to have access to private cases to see this case in your data. So we're going to make this a public case by clicking the box, and then we're going to select Reg Type 2, and we're going to make it a foster family home. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to make it a parent. I believe the mother is going to foster the child. So the type of care is what used to be called placement type. It's been changed to type of care. Now that we know what type of care for the regulation type and the county and state we're going to, let's search and look at the prominence of this button right here. Let's search and add a placement resource. It already knows we're in the District of Columbia to place this child. So let's see where we can find the right, if we can find the right person to, there she is, Victoria James. She's an existing placement resource. So all we have to do is check her on the listing and click on the bottom right-hand corner to add her to the case. One click away. So she's the parent. And then we have to enter one more piece of data and we'll be ready to create the 100A. She's the mother of this child. That's the relationship of the placement resource to the child. And now we're one click away from creating the 100A. So let's click away. Okay, so it says we've completed the case details. We've got a case ID 5568. So we have a physical actual case, a digital case. So we're in the process of creating a 100A. And thank goodness we've typed in a lot of stuff so far. So it starts by giving us the case header, showing us we're halfway there. We're in the process of creating a 100A. And it pre-populates the identifying data for the child in section 1. So as we scroll down, we see where there's needed information. We've got the parent information, parent 1 and parent 2. Now here's something important. If you're a caseworker, the name of the agency or person responsible for planning is optional. But if you know it, you might as well fill it in. So if you have an organization and you know that organization exists in your data, you can actually pre-type ahead the name of that organization, and the list of matching organizations will pop up. And in this case, our Florida ICPC Central Office will be responsible for planning for the child. So by one click and selecting that agency, it pre-populates all the required data for that agency. Now, that was for planning for the child. If we happen to have the same agency for financial responsibility, there's a nice button that says same as above. So we could click on same as above, and it'll pre-populate that same information in the fields below. Now that's terrific. First click saved you 75 keystrokes. The second click saved you 75 keystrokes. That's a lot of keystrokes, and that's a lot of opportunity to make mistakes, which I know I'd be doing. So that helps you tremendously. Now, this is with one child, the primary child in the case. Let's say you had multiple children in the case. There'd be another box that says same as child, and it will give you a drop-down list of the other children in the case to select the same set of financial and planning responsible parties for that child. So you would say same as Charles, and you'd have it input in there automatically. So again, you save yourself another 150 keystrokes, just like that one keystroke. Okay, I'll take a deep breath as we go through section 2. Again, you've got data pre-populated, but there'll come a point where it's going to ask us to fill in some data. It's going to fill in for us, pre-populate the family that the child is going to be residing with. That information is known. We don't know who the supervisory agency is, but at the beginning of section 3, just as we had before, and initially it knows that it's a parent study because we told them the relationship is mother and type of placement. is, type of care is parental. It says, who do you want to supervise this case? So we're going to say that we request the receiving state to arrange supervision. And then it says, how frequently do you want this supervision reported to you? One click, and you've got quarterly. So that'll set up the expectation that you'll get a quarterly supervision report. So now we scroll down to the bottom. There's nothing left to enter on this 100A. Okay, now, this is very interesting. We've already got the case created. And let's just say we've entered the data and we want to save the data and then maybe go look for the fax copy or the hard copy, or we have to scan something, do something. You could click 100A. What that would do is that would save the data for you and let you come back and sign this document at another time. We could select save and generate the 100A, and that's the original all digital 100A where you never touch the paper, you have it already electronically submitted to you. So you can save and generate that 100A as long as you've entered the data, it's in NEICE, and you can actually generate the document that will go with the packet. So that's save and generate the 100A. The third option is, let's say you're in a local agency and a parent is trying to do a parent placement with a parent adoption Reg 12, independent adoption, and she brings you a signed 100A that she signed, and you have to countersign it. What you would do is countersign the paper document, scan it, save it to a location on your hard drive, and then actually upload it to the case from here by clicking on Save 100, which means save the data I entered and upload the document. But we're staying all digital, so we're going to say save and generate the 100A. And what it's going to do when we do that, it's going to do three things. It's going to insert our name or signature that we put in the profile and insert today's date. And then it's going to create an image and display the image of the 100A. So we can scroll down and we can see the 100A very clearly, exactly what it looks like. Signature and all, to my name and today's date. Now we can close that up. Yeah, if you wanted to print it now or download a copy, you can do that as well. But we're just going to create the case and create the 100A. So now we've created the 100A for the primary child. Now we can do whatever we want to do. But let's see the options here. We have upload documents. We're in the documents phase. If we have all the documents uploaded, we could send a message. But let's add a document. Let's say that we need a child's social history to go along with this case. So let's click upload a document. Remember, caseworkers upload documents to cases, and ICPC coordinators attach documents to cases. So let's upload a brand new document. Let's assign it to a specific child. This is your opportunity that if you have multiple children, you can assign it to one individual child, or if you leave that top marker where it says child name blank, it would assign the document at the case level, like a cover sheet or a summary or something like that. Okay, so we're assigning the child Olivia. We're going to do the child's social history, and we're going to go browse for that document from our stuff where we've safely stored it. We select the file, and notice it's a tiny little file. But remember back in 1.0, which you're still using today, the limit on the size of an attachment or on a packet transmittal is 30 megabytes. It used to be 10 megabytes, so we tripled the size to make it convenient for you to put in large documents or bulk documents in one. Now, we do have one caution. We need you to do this for the betterment of the recipient. Separate the 100A. We need you to separate the 100A as a separate document, attach it, upload it to the case as a separate document. You can put all the other documents except for 100B in the big bulk document or additional information or initial request packet. But you must deliver a 100A separately as an identifiable document, as well as a 100B if necessary as a separate document. So please just help us out and do that, and it'd be good for your partner agencies. All right, we're gonna save and upload that document. Okay. We're doing case documents. And let's say we have all the documents loaded, and let's create a message. We're gonna send that message to our central office, and then I'll show you something else. Let's create the message. It says you've got one child. I know who it is. It's Olivia Young. I know the agency you're gonna send it to is your Florida State Central Office. If I had a user specific I was working with, I could put that in there. And then I can put a message. These messages are very important because sometimes they describe something unique about the case. Wanted to notify them that I've sent out the 100A, I've uploaded the 100A separately as a document. So I've sent that and any other documents I've sent, and I'm ready to go. And just like that, I will have completed the case. Now, it took me, I think, 18 minutes. And that's because I had to say a lot of things that I could have just typed right through. So now I get my notification that I have. You see now that little icon, the envelope with the green circle on it and the checkbox. There's actually a circle and a checkbox on there. That means it successfully went from my local agency to my central office successfully. And there it says success. That message has its own unique identifier. When you know the date it's sent, you know who sent it. That's actually the name of the person. And where did it go? It went to the central office, nobody in particular. And there's this a part of the message. So I can do as many messages as I need to continue to accumulate. But wait a second, I just realized there's another child in the case. How do I do that? Wait a second, I have to add a child to the case. Oh my goodness. Well, look up in the upper right-hand corner, right below your profile, is a button that says add a child. Let's see how hard this is. Let's add a child to this case. Well, let's see how easy this is. That's the new thinking icon. First thing again, it gives us the upstate sending case wizard, update sending case wizard. So it says you can do the same process quickly and we'll build a case for you, with you. So let's search for the child by last name. Okay, we just put in Young. Let's see if we get the other Young. We did Olivia, so now we're going to take the John Young. Add child to case. Now, NEICE is pretty smart because it knows the case. Now we have to adjust the age. It's not 1970. That was a good year. So we're going to pick somebody else. And a new child. Let's put in a new child named Young. Sophia Young. That's a nice name. And she's only 21 days old. So we're just going to quickly go through it because you see how quickly you can go through the wizard once you've got all the backgrounds. We don't have to add all the information again, but we must select the unique legal status for that child. It could be different. We also must select what the relationship is between that child and the placement resource, because that could be different as well. Look how quickly we're getting to the 100A for the child because all the case data is known, the names of everybody else in the case is known. And now we're right into the 100B, 100A for the second child. Now, hold on a second. Remember I said that if there was a primary child already in the case, you'd see a button that says same from child. Let's see if it works. Yes, it does. Look on Olivia Young. and it'll pre-populate the same data. Okay. And the same data in the responsible, same supervisory requirements, because it's supervisory at the case level, not at the child level. And let's save and let's save and upload. Let's show you how that works. Once you say, I've entered the data, okay, now I'm saving and uploading because the document I had was given to me by the mother. I co-signed it, scanned it, and put it in my batch of documents. So I click on save 100 and upload, go to my selection process, select the child, Sophia Young, select the document from my document storage, and pop it right into the case. And now I'm ready to create a message again because I want to alert my ICPC coordinator that there is a second child in the case. So all I do is create another message. And just like that, okay, and I only need to include Sophia's data, send, and just like that, I've added a child to the case, updated the 100A for her based on the same case data, common data, and I've created a second message very quickly. It was a successful message to the ICPC Central Office within minutes of the first. So we've got a case created, we have primary child created, we have 100A created, we have fill in the case data, and then we have the message. Then we added a new child, add a child to the case. We added the 100A because we didn't have to add many case data fields. We just had to add relationship of the placement resource to the child and the child's current legal status. And we created a message informing the central office that there's now 2 children in the case, and the oldest one is the primary child, and we're ready to go. So now it's sitting in the case, my cases as a pending case, 5568. And you notice the icon pending, today's date, request type Reg 2, parent placement, local agency is CBC, and it's going to the district with the 2 children. Now let's show you how to, since my role includes the ability to assign a caseworker to in my group to this case, I want to assign it to somebody else. Or my caseload is too heavy. I need to assign it to the case with the 2 children, 2 young children, capital Y that way. Now I notice that where it says caseworker, that means the current assigned caseworker. Okay, so notice there's nobody yet assigned at the ICPC central office because it hasn't been touched there yet. Now, in default, the default assignment of a case is if it's an outgoing case and the caseworker created the case, she would be assigned the default ownership of the case. She'd be the responsible caseworker. But until some time it's changed, she'll be responsible. Now, because I have the authority to assign someone else to it, I see that the icon is actually live. So now I can click on the icon and go down the list of people to assign it. So I'll actually assign it to Junior. And all I have to do is save. And now Junior, notice that the green flash comes up in the upper right-hand corner. And it only stays for a few seconds. So it doesn't block your screen. It doesn't make you do anything. You just let it go away when it's ready. But now I've assigned that to one of my peers. And when I go into case search, case 5568 will come up under Tom Lavoti Jr. There it is, just as we predicted. So this is how you can actually assign a user to a case and make sure that the caseload is even. But again, this is an optional feature that the state can either select to use or not use. And if they do use it, they can figure that they'll have one person at each county if you have a large county, and one person or two persons at the central office, depending upon your needs. Again, that's an optional tool, not a mandatory tool. So now we can level the playing field, so to speak, and sort out the caseloads, and when we have to move an assigned worker, we can change that assigned worker. Okay. Let's just, wanted to make sure that we don't have to really work hard on manage child. It's the same exact process. Manage child, just like you would anywhere. In 1.0, you search for the child, you get the results, you select the result, and you can open the child, edit the child, whatever. You can, there you go. And a new thing from the child search is when you manage the child, you can actually see which cases are the child is involved in. So there's a case, this child. Let's say, there's a child with no cases. There's a child with case 4281. You know what? Swati, could you search on the last name Campanella? Campanella. There you go. He's got 3 cases that were made Sunday night. What? Oh, okay. Well, I can't find no cases. My bad. But there's a child in there. What about Young? What was it? Sophia Young?
Tom, we didn't make the case active as an ICPC.
Ah, see,
Yes.
that's what I forgot. Thank you, Swati. The case will be assigned to the child when it's active, made active by the ICPC coordinator in the sending state. So the associated case has to be approved and made active in the sending state before it'll appear on this list. Okay, I should have done that this morning. Got 3 cases, one for DC, one for Virginia, one for Maryland in this scenario. Okay, alrighty. Are there any questions at this point? Okay. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to get access to e-learning. If you haven't completed it, it's worth the 2 hours that you can do it in. I know you can do it in 2 hours, and it's important that you get some of the overview items clear, and that you get the security updates and enhancements clear, and that you can go through the process smoothly and easily. And the best way to get there is to practice. And if you have access to, and I know you're all CMS state, so you should have access to https://test.nice.us. And if you were in there before, use the same login ID with the password reset to welcome, capital W, and 123. Because practice is really what it's going to take to get this down. I could give you this webinar every day for a week, but practice is really the way you're going to remember and be able to do this just as readily as Swati and I did today. So I'm urging you to practice and get there. But the e-learning is a must. Familiarizing yourself with the documentation is going to be very helpful to you. And as well as this is something also specific to the test environment. We know that you're familiar with the process of submitting support tickets to the NEICE support desk using the support icon, support portal, and email support on every screen. But when you're in the test environment, we have a special capture capability. It's called provide feedback. It's that little blue box right on the scroll bar in the middle of the screen. What we need you to do is, if you have an issue, a problem, or need, or some suggestion, please click that button, not the need support button, because we want to make sure that in our closing days, working up to this July 6th, that we hear from you as quickly as possible. And if we can possibly make the adjustment or fix before we go live, we can do that. So this message goes right to the technical team, not directly to the support team. They may ask us for help, but the technical team will review. Like you put the summary up top, just a brief summary, a couple of words, put in a description, whatever you can do to describe the situation. Tell us whether you're going to attach a file, let's say a screenshot or something like that, or an error message. And then let us know what environment you're working in. And make sure you're working with Google Chrome instead of Microsoft 10, because they're not really that compatible. But let us know what your environment is. Put your name and your email in there so we can assign it to you, so that when you look, you'll get an email in return with a place to look to see what the status of your comment is. So we need that input from you. We need it from you quickly. So as soon as you can, please get into practice the test environment. Test cases, send it to the normal states you would send it to. There's actually exchanges between states or cases going on at this point. So please try that out and get comfortable with it, because we're only 2 weeks away. 2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll be jumping in the river. Are there any questions? Like, as I said, the password, I think all the passwords were reset. If you had an active partnership in the NEICE test in 1.0, the names were brought forward and the passwords were reset to welcome at 123 with a capital W.
Thank you, Tom. That was really great. Thank you, Swati. Also, I think we also wanted to show the support portal and how to get that from every screen, how to get there from every screen. So Swati's showing you underneath help, you can click on support portal, and that will take you over to this area. And this is where all the job aids that have been created for NEICE 2.0 exist. You can see for the caseworkers, there's a link you can click on to see what the e-learning courses are. So if you need to get to those at any point, you can click on that and it will show you the 3 courses. And you know, as Tom said, you can go back to those at any time if you need to check on something or relearn something, and those are available. There's also a practice guide at the bottom here. You can click on that and it can walk you through some practice steps of things you should be able to do in NEICE 2.0. And the ones with asterisks here in the outline, those are ones that are specific for caseworkers. So you can look at those are the kind of the key activities that you would need to do in NEICE. And then what else in the portal do we want to show? Thank you, Swati, that we wanted to show the recorded webinars. So we have a place where all the webinars we posted. So you can see the one from June 17th. And then, sorry, Tom, I think, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say that the guide is very, very helpful. I mean, it follows the path. You can follow that path and create a case with the guide. There's a place for you to start learning things, Q&A webinars. You can go and see them and listen to them. If this wasn't exciting enough, you can listen to a similar meeting from a week or 2 ago, or yesterday or Friday as well. But the real thing is you must do the e-learning. That caseworker course spells out everything you need to do to be a successful caseworker. And it's only about 45 minutes. And it's cool because it asks you questions. It checks on your learning to make sure you're getting the proper guidance that you need from the documentation and the interactive nature. So really, I mean, it's worth 45 minutes that you should invest. And if you do it in 45 minutes and then you have a question while you're working in your test environment, you can actually go back and go right to that section without taking the whole course again and review what you need to help in. But it's going to be so much easier after July 6th if you are successful in these tests. If you can successfully create a case, create a child, create a placement resource, send a message, do the fundamentals successfully, and I guarantee if you can do them successfully in tests, you can do them successfully in 2.0 production starting July 6th.
Yeah. And there's another section that Swati's pointing out here, which is the national map of all the states that are participating in NEICE. So every time we add a new state, we update this map. And so you can see the states that are participating as cloud states, which are CMS states. That's the dark blue. And then the MCMS, which is the modular case management states, those are the lighter blue. And then the yellow ones are states that are using NEICE directly from their SACWIS or their CWIS system. So it's important just to note that when you're working with states that are this kind of goldenrod color yellow, that those states may not see exactly the same screens. They will not see the same screens that you see when you're using NEICE, but they will have the same content that they can access that's required by the 100A and 100B. So that's just a reminder that those states will not see exactly what you see, but all the blue ones will. And then the green states are the ones that are coming on, and a handful of those are using the secure document portal. So you can see the SDP there. So anyway, we will update this every time we add a new state. So it's kind of a fun map, important map. And then we have a question in the chat that says, will the old NEICE website transition to 2.0?
Yeah, for the users in the field, that's a good question. Will the 2.0? Well, for the cloud states, it'll be the new website. For the individual MCMS states, it'll be a new website, I believe. I'll have to check on that. I'm not sure. That's a great question. Swati, do you have insight into that?
Yes, Tom. So that will be same like live.nice.us, as they have done same for the UID is test.nice.us. So it's just a transition from old UI to the new UI.
In production, what will they be logging into?
Live.nice.us.
So it's the same URL for the
same
state.
URL.
Yes.
And the same thing is, that's for the CMS states, and the same is the same true for the MCMS states.
For the MCMS states that I just need to check with Susmita on that, Tom. Depends upon the state's configuration and all. So for CMS state, it will be the same.
Yeah. And Tom, Susmita's answered that question before. She did say that it depends on, just as Swati just said. So if it's an MCMS state, their state administrator will share the URL, and it may change for the live environment. They'll let you know.
Okay.
For Virginia, I think Virginia, Maryland, and DC, you guys are all, I think, CMS states, so it should be the same URL.
Right, same URL, but live at nice.us.
Let's see. And so I think the question that I think the support desk gets most often is, how do I reset my password? So I think there's information on this knowledge base that has some job aids on that kind of thing if you guys get stuck. So the nice thing about the job aids is that they're here all the time, 24 hours a day. So if you can't, it's a good place to start if you have a question, because likely, we have something that might help you get to that point. And I think it's searchable too at the top. So there's lots of resources to support you as we make this transition. We hope you're feeling a little excited about some of the new features. And I think, is there any other questions we want to people want to ask before we wrap things up? Oh, another good question.
Yeah.
Yep, you got it, Tom.
Amanda, the great question. when you log into production on July 6th, all of your cases will be there. They will be migrated, so it'll be the same case. You won't have to learn new case numbers. They'll be exactly the same. You'll have access to the tools of My Case and Case Search if you're the responsible party. Because, for example, you become the responsible party if you create the case originally, that you're the default responsible party. And if you were a receiving state, when the case comes to your agency, the first person who uploads a document or makes a comment or saves the cases will be automatically default assigned as the responsible party for the case. And that's where the ability to assign users to cases will help. And that's if your state or the district chooses to use that, but you will receive the current cases access to the exact same cases you have now. Now, if somebody's asked the question, can you please provide the link with login to access NEICE? If you're talking about NEICE test environment, it's HTTPS. Somebody's going to paste it in the chat, I bet. That's the test environment for test users in the cloud. Okay, if you are using a production NEICE case ID, I'm sorry, NEICE access URL, wait for the technical team to advise you what the new one is. It may be the same, or it might be different. Reading. So all the data that you have now in both test and in production will be there when you get into test and production. So you can won't lose any data, and you'll be able to resume when you leave on Friday the 3rd, no, the 2nd. You'll be able to open up the same cases on Tuesday the 6th of July. Well, I personally appreciate you listening to me for this hour and a half. It's been my pleasure to work with you for the last 7 years. And I look for another 7 years into the future. And you've done so much for the community, the families and the children that you work with, that we're really, really excited to be part of, helping you and enabling you to do more children every year. So we appreciate what you do, and we stand to support you. And we thank you. Thank you for doing what you do and being here today. We really appreciate it. Marcy, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I wanted to say the same thing. So thanks to everyone for your time today and your attention, and I hope this was helpful to you. And I want to say thanks to the Tetris team. Also, they've been working really hard to make improvements and to make NEICE 2.0 even better than NEICE 1.0. And you know, a lot of states have helped volunteer their time, including some on the line today. So I want to say thanks and a shout out to the states that have volunteered to review earlier versions and make suggestions. And it's really been a group effort. So, and you know, we're not totally transitioned yet to NEICE 2.0, but so there's some work still ahead of us. But I think it's going to really be a big improvement for you all. And we'll be right here with you to help make the transition as smooth as possible. So just keep in mind that we're here to help, and there's lots of resources available online to support you. So thank you all. Hope everyone has a good day and a good rest of your day. And we will put up on the support portal a link to this webinar so you can review it again in case you want to. Okay.
Stay cool.
That's right. It's hot out there. Stay cool. All right. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.